I want to talk a little bit about karma and how you can actually break the cycle of karma. What is karma actually when you try to understand it a little bit more in depth and you're just repeating the same life patterns? What does it have to do with the character that you develop in a life and why you attract certain things to you? And all kinds of related ideas. I think to understand karma, we should look for all the places that we see the idea of karma. So, first we have karma itself, right? That's one that we're familiar with and we're talking about here. But we see it in different places too. Like in the New Age sort of movement, you hear it called the law of attraction, which is essentially karma with a little bit more agency, a little bit of more belief that you can control the outcome of things. We also have reciprocity or cause and effect, which you'll find in Hermeticism, the law of cause and effect. And you'll even find it in places like AI, where there's this concept of AI feedback loops, where you can feed the AI certain training data and then it starts to be stuck in this loop pattern of recreating the thing that it's been fed. So, what makes all of these things similar? What is the thread that runs beneath these different ways of appreciating the concept of karma? Well, to me, that's resonance. Resonance is the underlying function of karma, and resonance is based off of vibration. What you vibrate at is what you resonate with. So we call it a vibe when you're hanging out with a group of people and you guys are vibing together, right? That vibe that we're describing is because you and them are vibrating at the same level and thus you're in resonance with each other. If somebody comes into the room or enters the group that doesn't have the same vibration as you guys, maybe they don't appreciate the same dark humor or the same jokes, they're not going to be in resonance. And you can feel that. You can feel when something is in resonance. If you're a musical person, you might know that, like if you take a piano, there's a bunch of C keys on the piano. And if you hit one C key, all of the C keys on the piano, even if you didn't touch them, they will all vibrate. Why? Because they're all in resonance with each other. They all vibrate at the same rate. So when something around them vibrates, they resonate with it. And that resonance concept is the fundamental that goes behind karma. So if we want to dig into that further, what causes resonance, I think, is a good first question. What causes resonance? Well, there's two things in your life that apply here. One of those is thoughts, and one of those is emotions. And these together determine what you resonate with. And they're linked together by a third component, which is called desire. So desire is actually what karma is based off of. Desire is a thing that magnetizes certain experiences to you. Desire is the magnet to your being. And it will attract certain thoughts and emotions that match what you desire. And then those thoughts and emotions will attract certain life experiences based off of your desires. So it's kind of like a pyramid that builds on itself. And the foundation is desire. So when you think about desire, you can split desire into two ways. Either you desire to experience something, or you don't desire to experience something. And you can appreciate that in the simple duality of the masculine and the feminine. The masculine is the part of you that wishes to deny an experience. It says, I don't want this thing to be a part of me. I don't wish to experience that. The feminine aspect of desire is the part of you that wishes to integrate the experience. It says, yes, I want that. Give me more. And based off of an experience, whether you want to deny or integrate it, it's going to cause certain emotions, certain actions, and things that are going to daisy chain off of that initial desire. So let's say you want to deny something. If you want to deny the existence of something, you might seek revenge. You might try to attack it. You might try to destroy it. Or you might just resist it. These are all forms of denying a particular kind of reality from manifesting. If you wish to integrate an experience, you might choose to just accept it. You might actually welcome the experience. You might choose to include an experience, an emotion, or something in your toolkit, or you choose to support it. There's many ways that you can integrate. This isn't a complete list. So that is your decision point about what starts to build your karmic cycle in life, right? So if things begin with a thought, what actually happens is first you have a thought, right? That is a thought. And now if you think many thoughts together, what starts to emerge from many coherent thoughts of the same kind is a pattern starts to emerge. This right here is a pattern. We can see that it's a square. It has shape to it, and we live in this 3D physical universe that is built of shape. So the patterns, the shapes that are our lives, whether that shape is the shape of being wealthy or happy or rich, wealth and rich are the same thing, but fit, whatever the case is, these are patterns, these are shapes that emerge from consistent thoughts. And those consistent patterns, they start to build your actions. And they build your actions because they do what? They are multiplied. You keep doing them. You keep thinking them. You keep feeling them. Consistency is found often in magical traditions, but the more that you do something, the more it emerges into this physical existence. So here we have one thought leads to many thoughts, which leads to a pattern, which leads to actions. And that is the actual karmic cycle itself. When they say that you're stuck in a karma cycle, it's because you are repeating the same process. You are thinking the same thoughts based off of the desires that you have, which are feeding certain emotions, and then you're shaping those into an existence, and you're just doing that over and over and over again. So karma is really amplified resonance. Going back to that resonance term, you're amplifying the initial thing that you had and doing more of it. So if you think like of a person singing, you have one person singing, and then you have two people singing, and then you have 3, and then 10, and then 20, and then suddenly you have a choir. That's how thoughts emerge into your experience. First you have a thought and the pattern, and then it turns into an emotion. So let's say you have thoughts of being resentful. Continued resentful thoughts will make you angry. And then if you continue to be angry, you start to become a tyrant, right? So that's the cycle of this process amplifying. So what karma really is, aka, is its addiction. You're addicted to a certain experience and you keep repeating it. Therefore, you're stuck in this cycle because you keep asking for more. You're saying, I want to integrate more of that experience into my life. Let's say that like you come across a bug and you choose to squash the bug, right? That's at its core is the belief that I'm not going to integrate this thing into my experience. It's not a part of me. We are not one with the universe. We are not whole. Instead of looking at it that way, I'm going to deny its existence. And to deny its existence, I'm going to start adding some thoughts to it. I'm going to look at things in a hierarchical manner. I'm bigger, so therefore I have the right to destroy it. I'm more powerful, so I have the right to destroy it. Whatever the thoughts that can go around it, that is all the extra baggage that's behind a person squashing the bug. Now let's say they go into the workplace and they see their manager. Because they're in this power dynamic, in this hierarchy framing, they realize that they're the powerless one in that relationship. And then they will attract a manager who is a tyrant to them and who stomps on them because they created that vibration of being in this powerless, powerful position. They've put themselves in the powerless with the manager because the manager comes with certain authority, and then they believe that, well, people are always squashing me. Well, it's because you started squashing the bug. You started framing with your thoughts and emotions that hierarchy and power were what you chose to integrate, and you chose to integrate those instead of denying the aspect of holism and unity and things like that. So a karma cycle is an addiction cycle, and that addiction cycle is what frames your life. Your life is what comes from those compounding thoughts and emotions, again, based off of the desires that you choose to integrate or deny. So your thoughts end up forming what we call your character, and your actions are what creates your environment. A person who's a tyrant, who's always angry, who's thinking resentful thoughts, their character is that of a tyrant. And then they'll create an environment around them where it's people who are next to a tyrant. They may be dissatisfied with the way that you operate, so they'll always be in a lower vibration around you, a poor mood. And you'll think that people are always a certain kind of way, negative or whatever the case is, but that's because your character is that of a tyrant. So your desire is to create the experience of a tyrant and also the environment of a tyrant. It all starts with the desire that you're looking for. So that's the idea of the karmic cycle. The part that we got, the way that we got here is based off of desire. That is the initial launching pad into this sequence, right? Because it creates the resonance. Your desire is what you choose to be in resonance with. And desire is informed by your thoughts and actions. And that determines what you're going to choose to integrate or deny. And that compounds. And that repeats, and we call that the karmic cycle. And you come back into another life and you attract these experiences again because you continue to desire it. So how do we actually break the karmic cycle? Well, to me, I think there's 5 key steps to breaking the karmic cycle. Oops, spelled that wrong. The first one, I think, starts with a common phrase you hear in esoteric teachings, which is know thyself. You have to know what you actually desire to stop manifesting the things that come around your desires. So you have to know who you are. You have to know what you actually want. One of the ways to do that, that's commonly promoted, is to meditate. Because meditation is a way to deprogram yourself. It's a way to give new meaning to some of your desires. You can go in and reflect and say, why do I want this thing? What am I seeking out of this experience? Am I trying to resist something? Am I trying to deny something out of my experience? Am I trying to integrate it? Meditation will often show you that. Another significance to knowing yourself is because thoughts are dangerous. As you can see from this process, it takes a seed of one thought to create a pattern, which then creates a karmic loop. So monitoring your thoughts is really important, because if you don't, they can be this virus that can enter your being and start manifesting these experiences that you don't really want, because it slipped through unnoticed. A thought slipped through, you didn't catch it, and then it started to amplify, and now all of a sudden you're in this victim mentality. So knowing yourself is the first step to breaking the karmic cycle. And there's many ways to know yourself at a soul level, at a physical level. There's a lot to that. The next step to breaking the karmic cycle is to integrate. You have to deny less experiences. You might have heard the phrase, what you resist persists. So if you continue to deny things, you will do the opposite and you will actually welcome them more. So you have to integrate, and you have to allow more and more experiences to flow through you. But now that's a tricky one, right? Because should you integrate being angry? Should you integrate doing bad things? Well, no. There is another piece to this. And that third part is your attachments. Your attachments are what create risk. Let's say you drive a really fancy car and somebody bumps into your car. Then you have to ask yourself, how are you going to react? Are you going to be angry? Are you going to fight with them, or whatever the case is? That entire experience emerged out of the attachment to the car. So you can actually remove that entire sequence of events and the possibility of entering a new karmic loop by just not having the attachment to the fancy car, for it not to mean something to you, or for you not to have it all together. So attachments actually create risk for you, because that you have to decide how you're going to respond to the situation. And to break the karmic loop is not about how you're going to respond to the situation, it's who you're going to become to prevent the situation. Becoming the person who doesn't care about a fancy car or even own a fancy car is more than the person who has a fancy car and tries not to get angry about it. So it's important to reduce the amount of attachments you have to break cycles, because it prevents you from inviting more loops to enter your experience. The next thing is you have to seek higher desires. And this is another important one with breaking the karmic cycle. You have to seek states of being versus things. Because in life you can desire material things, you can desire status, you can desire much of the worldly pleasures that you want. And those will create more karmic loop patterns that you're going to be cycled within, that are going to be very oriented to this physical 3D experience, this realm. So how do you escape that? Well, you start placing your desires in higher and higher realms. You'll find these concepts in Eastern traditions, or like David Hawkins and his map of consciousness. Right at the top of that scale is things like unconditional love, joy. Placing your desires in those kinds of things is how you escape these 3D karmic cycles, because you're orienting yourself to something that is more towards that spiritual essence, that monad, that godly thing. You're seeking desires that are more unified, to integrate with all things. And that's kind of really how you escape the ultimate karmic cycle, is because you reunify with spirit. You are all one in this collective thing. And the road to getting there is to desire higher and higher things. So that's one of the last steps to breaking the karmic cycle. And the actual last step is to repeat. You have to repeat this. Consistency is magic. In the word spiritual, there's the word ritual. A ritual is a repeated action. If you want to manifest something, you have to repeat doing that. If you want to break these lower karmic cycles, you have to keep doing that. It's not about denying that I won't get angry about a certain thing. You don't want to resist the negative emotions. You want to drown it out with positive emotions. You want to seek joy so much that there's just no opportunity for the negative thing to happen to you, because you're just not in resonance with it anymore. You don't even vibrate at that level, so it doesn't enter your awareness to even respond that way, or you don't have the attachments that create the risk for you to respond that way. So 5 steps to breaking the karmic cycle. You have to know yourself. You have to integrate experiences more and deny less of them. You have to reduce the attachments in your life, because if you don't, these create risks for you to enter new karmic cycles. And then you have to seek higher and higher desires, more spiritual states of being rather than material pleasures and things. And then you have to repeat this process. So that's my take on the karmic cycle and what it has to do with resonance and vibration and these terms that are more sciencey, and how to actually break that cycle. So I hope you enjoyed this video again and found some ways to apply it to your life.